the drop-off here?
Here's a bottomless pit, baby. 2.5 miles straight down.
In a key scene from The Abyss, 3 submersibles are searching for the remains of a shipwrecked nuclear submarine. The location is a rocky ledge in the Cayman Trough, one of the deepest and most impenetrable chasms on Earth. Often, the smallest illusions produce the greatest results. Using carefully crafted models and miniatures like this submersible from The Abyss, the wizards of special effects create some of the most exciting and seemingly impossible movie experiences.
Tab 1, do you see it yet?
Roger that. Found it.
While many shots, including close-ups of the actors, were filmed in an underwater tank, these wide shots would have been too dangerous and too expensive to shoot in the ocean. The producers decided to film them instead in miniature on a dry stage at one of Hollywood's premier effects shops, DreamQuest Images. Shooting through smoke helped create the appearance of a murky underwater environment. The model's submersibles were suspended from a huge crane-like device and controlled like marionettes. As seen in this time-lapse photography, the sequence was shot very slowly to give the effects crew maximum control over lighting and camera settings. An entire day was required to complete just a few seconds on film. The biggest challenge for visual effects supervisor Hoyt Yateman was in figuring out a way to fit actress Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio into a 2-foot-long model.
And every time you come to work, you're faced with a new problem. And if you take that in the right attitude, it's an amazing and very refreshing type of business to be in because you're constantly being challenged to produce something new.
In order to see Mastrantonio inside the cockpit, a 35mm rear projector was built that was small enough to fit inside the model. Film of the actress shot in a full-size submersible was projected frame by frame in sync with the camera. 11 months of planning and effort added up to one very believable underwater illusion.
Let's keep moving. Remember, we're on a tight timeline.
Copy that.
It's also sometimes a surprise to us because we're working on such small little details for so many months. It's an amazing effect to finally see it all come together, fit within the film, help tell the story, and make people really go wow when they see it on the screen.
While filming in a real abyss would have been extremely difficult, shooting on the surface of Mars would be literally impossible. But we journeyed to the Red Planet anyway, in total recall. A dozen Martian vistas were created in miniature, including the vast mining complex, which measured 70 feet across and 30 feet deep. The dramatic Martian landscapes were filmed by DreamQuest and built by master model maker Mark Stetson. Mark has come back to Earth to recreate New York City of the 1930s for The Shadow. The movie stars Alec Baldwin as Lamont Cranston, aka The Shadow, a mysterious superhero who works outside the law to defend the Big Apple against sinister forces of evil. A miniature version of the metropolis will be built by Mark Stetson, who began his career in industrial design making models of small home appliances. That all changed when he went to see George Lucas's Star Wars.
I saw those first spaceships opening that movie and realized that that was something that I could do and it'd be a little bit more fun than toasters and clocks.
It was not long before Mark was building entire cities in miniature for movies like Blade Runner. In this famous scene from Ghostbusters, Mark's small-scale Central Park and New York City streets, complete with remote-controlled model cars, made a man in a suit appear to be the giant Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. The Shadow also includes several shots of Manhattan that could not be filmed in the real city. So Mark and his crew are building the Big Apple in 1/24th scale, half the scale size used for dollhouses. Since these miniatures are skyscrapers, they range in height from 10 to 20 feet and require more than 9,000 windows.
Okay, stand by, everybody.
Filming in miniature allows Mark to recreate the 1930s, weave the camera between the buildings, and even control the weather.
Keep raining, keep dribbling.
For this shot, sprinklers provide rain. Electric fans create wind, and flashing lights fill in for lightning.
How's that for you, Dave? And a cut.
By turning wood, plastic, and paint into a convincing illusion of New York City, Mark Stetson is carrying on the legacy of past masters of miniature magic.
In Republic Pictures serials of the 1930s and 40s, brothers Howard and Theodore Lydecker built thousands of models, only to blow them into smithereens. These explosive miniatures paved the way for many of today's biggest blasts. The explosion of the Terminator's gas tanker truck looks enormous, but in reality, the vehicle was an 8-foot-long model, carrying 3 gallons of gasoline. The explosion was originally going to be shot full scale, blowing up the actual truck driven by Arnold Schwarzenegger. But the location where the filming took place was next to a police munitions armory, and the necessary permits were denied. So a model replica of the truck was built, and the location's buildings, street, and parked cars were duplicated in miniature in the parking lot of effects house Fantasy 2. An even bigger challenge was the movie's future war sequence. Effects supervisor Gene Warren Jr. had to stage believable miniature battle scenes that would be combined with full-scale shots filmed with the actors. Gene oversaw construction of a 700-square-foot miniature set of a war-torn Los Angeles, designed to have a grim and gritty look. It included such ominous details as miniature skulls. The futuristic war machines, out to destroy the last vestige of humanity, were built in Fantasy 2's model shop. Miniature combat vehicles, including a 200-pound hunter-killer tank, had radio-controlled treads, turrets, and guns. Aerial hunter-killers were suspended on wire and pulled through the set, which was heavily smoked during filming to simulate atmospheric conditions. An essential element of the Terminator's future war were its explosions. Pyrotechnics expert Joe Viscoso had earlier blown up hundreds of model spaceships and the Empire's Death Star in Star Wars. Here, he destroyed several of the carefully crafted miniatures with a combination of gasoline and black powder.
There is a lot of pressure when you have only one model, and that model might cost anywhere from $20,000 to $100,000. It's one model. And until that shot is over, then you can relax and celebrate, but not until you push that button.
With model vehicles and miniature worlds in their bag of tricks, the masters of illusion have proven that even little effects can have a big impact, and that there is no such thing as an impossible shot.